Welcome back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We get to the stage in the programming here where I can only talk so much Browns, I can only talk so much Ravens, I can only look ahead to Nashville on my 50th birthday this week with the old school Allers of the Tennessee Titans. But this guy was one of the Titans of the NFL, and certainly his father qualifies as Burt Bell. And I spent a couple days out at the Hall of Fame back in early August when Ray Lewis went in, amongst some other luminaries. Upton Bell is our pal around here and is widely quoted in John Eisenberg's new book, The League. So I want to give my pal John Eisenberg a little plug, as well as this guy who wrote a book last year called Present at the Creation. And certainly you were present at the creation of the greatness of the Colts in Baltimore, Upton Bell. Always a pleasure to have you on, sir. And I've been following your tweets, man. Nothing like a guy your age getting out on Twitter and telling everybody in the world what's on your mind, right?
Well, yeah, it's great to be on with you again, Nestor. And here is the thing. I am somebody that doesn't look in the past and say, wow, that was much better than today. I've been watching the NFL since 1946, maybe even before as a child. And I can tell you this, I am greatly concerned about what has happened to football. In fact, I've been going back and forth with Ernie Accorsi and some of the other ex-GMs, and here is the problem. The players are better. The conditions are better. The equipment is better. You can even buy yourself a Tom Brady pillow and sleep better. But the game is not better. And I will tell you, I watch all of the games. I've got the red zone. I've got 3 television sets. I see the games. And I am not fooled by what I see. It's bad football. Too many timeouts, too many officiating calls, especially ones that don't go right. Not enough good quarterbacks to fill out 32 teams. Phony records, offense. You might as well throw defense out. If you're a defensive player, you're penalized all the time. They want record scores, record number of points. They're now bragging. How many points this year versus last year? Oh, my God, if you keep bending the rules towards the offense because you want the fantasy football freaks and all of the other things that are out there today, and the gambling, which is going to be a big thing, that's fine. But I can tell you this, I would much rather watch 7-on-7 football because that's what it is.
How has it drifted? And look, I think the violence of the game, certainly for parents putting their kids in, and what we've seen it do to men and the CTE, all of that is very, very real. I mean, every year I sit at the Super Bowl at Radio Row and have folks like you come by, people with great histories in the league, to worry about where the future is. But to the present, to where it is right now, to make it safer, better. And I'll say this, Upton, we can complain about the quarterbacking. I think it's gotten better lately with this batch of quarterbacks that you could say, well, maybe Josh Allen's going to be okay and Blake Bortles, and we're seeing Marcus Mariota this week. Maybe Lamar Jackson will be the future here. But there's still a Brady and a Roethlisberger and Breeze and Rivers and the luminaries that are still out there. But these young guns that come in at least are giving their teams a chance to win. And I think the protection of them, while maybe it rankles the feathers of defense, defensive coordinators, defensive players, old school people, I know what it looked like last year to go to Green Bay and not have Aaron Rodgers there. I saw what it looks like when the Houston Texans come in and don't have Deshaun Watson. I mean, you got to keep the quarterbacks healthy. That has changed the game. I don't know, better or worse, officiating, fines, can't hit them low, can't hit them high, can't hit them hard, can't hit them late, can't drive through them. I mean, all of that stuff. But I think it will make for better football in December if 25 of those quarterbacks are standing instead of 17.
I have no problem. And by the way, I think that Patrick Mahomes is the next great quarterback. I love watching him play. He's John Elway and Dan Marino, a combination of both. He can scramble and he can throw on the run. He has got such a rocket arm, and he has such a feel for the game for a kid that's only his second year. Love him. And I love the idea. I'm with you of protecting the quarterback. I'm just saying now that the officials don't seem to know when to throw the flag and when to pick it up. And that's my problem. And
well, there was never a penalty for hitting someone too hard. That was kind of the point of the game, right? So when you take the ideology of hit him hard but not too hard, that's a different kind of coaching than anything, not just people of your era, but of Ray Lewis's era, Ed Reed's era. And, we're talking recently, the way Terrell Suggs has played the game his whole life. And I think, look, Ed Reed was chirping about this 7 years ago when they were trying to get the helmets up, heads up football and not playing, and all of that's changed everything. It's never going to go back to the way it was. So I guess the issue now is how do we take where it is and make it better right here now, right?
Well, I don't want to go back to the way it was. I mean, John Unitas, in my mind, they're breaking all sorts of records, but they're phony records. The greatest quarterback I ever saw was Baltimore's own John Unitas. He ended up his life being a cripple. And he was a cripple because I used to work on the field during the games, and he was hit on every play. I mean, it was brutal. I don't want to go back to that. And I agree with you. I think the quarterbacks ought to be protected. But you've got to learn, the officials, to when somebody their momentum is carrying them through when they hit the quarterback, and somebody's deliberately doing it. The other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of phony records out there. I love Drew Brees. I think he's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer. They're Peyton Manning, Brady, all of them. They're going there. But the inflation of the records, because the defense now, and I'm not talking about the quarterback, you can't touch the receiver. The middle is wide open. You can dink and dunk your way down the field. That's a completion. If you throw a 2-yard pass, that's a completion. I understand all of it. I'm not totally against it. I'm just saying to you, the game is not, the players are better. Everything is better, but it's not a better game. And in my opinion, the other thing is they have flooded the TV with so many games now, and for the people that like to bet on them and do all of the other things, the red zones there, I watch it. But you know what? The product can't be put on TV Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday, Thursday. Pretty soon it'll be Saturday if the colleges don't object.
Well, Upton, if I were commissioner, the first thing I would be talking about is Thursday night football. And I know it's a moneymaker, right? But I don't think long-term it's a moneymaker. I think they could find a better way to do that. And I've never really understood the whole, and this was old school, back to Art Modell, and I remember talking to Art about it, the sanctity of high school football on Friday, college football on Saturday, pro football on Sunday. But Thursday night football, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I've seen this experiment for a decade now. And look, you go back to Thanksgiving and say that was something special and something you did once a year, fine. That has bastardized the game and made the game worse because it's an awful game. Everything about it's awful, Thursday night football.
It is, but I can tell you this. It will outlive you, me, and most other people, and the simple reason is this: money. This is, and if we can jump over just for a second to Eisenberg's book.
Sure.
When he takes the original 5 owners, Bert Bell, the Maris, George Preston Marshall, Chicago Bears, Papa Bear Hallis, they always had in mind, even though they fought all the time, and they didn't agree on things, they always had in mind the best thing for the game. That's why Bert Bell got the draft through. That's why so many changes, that's how they got television through. That's how they got sudden death through. The only thing these owners now, not all of them, but a majority of them is the almighty buck. They don't care as long as they can keep making big money. And that's why the commissioner is making $40 million a year, because it's a seller's market. And what has happened here is, and I am not one of those sanctimonious, the past was better. I want to be very clear about that. But I can tell you, I study the game. I study the semantics of the game. I study the financial part of the game. And the only thing that counts to the owners is basically how much money can we make and how many games can we put on. And I will tell you this, I won't live to see it, but if football is going to go backwards, it won't be, even though the most telling and most dangerous thing is concussions, in the end, it will be about boredom. You give people too much, and they will say, wow, I've had enough. And that's the real danger. You look at it and you say every game except for a few looks the same because it's out there all the time. Where is that special game? Where is something that you can look forward to? That's what football had over every sport. Baseball plays every day. Basketball plays every day.
Well, I think Sunday's what they look forward to now, right? I mean, if you're a fan of the league, you put Sunday aside, as I'm doing this week for my 50th birthday in Nashville, as I did last week in Cleveland because I love football, as everyone will be doing 2 weeks from now when the Ravens come back and have a home game and play the Saints. I think that's the pageantry of it, is putting it aside, but not necessarily the way it used to be where it was tailgating or I'm going to go sit in the upper deck. I may want to watch football on my phone, as the Manning brothers once said. And, you can't escape it, though, right? I mean, it's everywhere. It's ubiquitous to the society.
No, you can't. But what I'm saying to you is that basically that very society that you're talking about now, that gets it on I can get it on my phone. I can get it on my computer. I can get it on my TV. I can go everywhere and do it. And by the way, most of the people that they put it on their phones for, really, basically, they don't watch the game. They just see how many touchdowns and do they have enough points for their fantasy football. That's not a fan. And I am telling you, the game is losing the fan. The live audience that goes to the game is going to, as everybody gets older, and you first of all, it's so expensive to go.
Well, they haven't filled in the fan base in their 20s and 30s, and those kids don't think it's worth $150 to go do it because they've never done it, and they've got a thing on their phone, and they have their own little church they go to on Sunday of their buddies, their wing buddies, the golf club, whatever it is they do, and watching fantasy or watching Red Zone or the man cave, which everybody wants a man cave, everybody wants a TV as big as a house. Now they're $500. Everybody's got one. So Upton Bell is here. We're kind of being old guys, but kind of trying to be cool as well. You can follow him at Upton Bell on Twitter. He writes books, as does John Eisenberg and the league, and Upton is widely quoted in that. His book is Present at the Creation. Of course, if you're familiar with a little bit of the history of the National Football League, you'll know of Upton Bell's days here in Baltimore in the 50s, in the 60s, in New England in the 70s and the 80s, and you still do some talk radio as well, not just coming on with me and jibber-jabbing a couple times a year about things, but when people call you like John Eisenberg and want to really talk about the history of where this league's been, and I'm interested in where it's going, and I know you are too, Upton. I think the next frontier is going to be over in London. I don't know if you've been over there to see a game. I was over there a year ago, and this game's going to go to Europe and going to do well in Europe, I believe.
Well, let me put it this way. If they're going to go to London, they better get another team over there for the simple reason that the travel is just, as you know, you've made the trip, and I have too, not to see a game, but I've been to Europe. And actually, I was one of the first people well before the World League of Football, which was an NFL minor league that was a pretty good experiment for a while. When I had my team with Arnold Palmer in the World Football League, which is in my book, that basically I proposed to the owners of the league the only way to survive against the NFL is to have companies own teams, and that we would have companies own teams in America and companies own teams in Europe, because Europe, it's a really big thing as far as companies owning soccer teams and stuff like that, and that the winner of the European season would play the winner of the American season. It would actually be the World Cup of football. So I'm with all of that. But you can't, now they go over twice a year, and it's a big thing. But the semantics of it and asking the players, let's say there's only one team and it's in England, all right? It's in London. If every week they're going to have to be on a plane and spend 6, 7, 8 hours flying across the world to here, unless they come here and play 3 or 4 games and go back. I would not do that unless there was another team over there, or you could establish leagues over there, because it doesn't work. Look, we are talking about Thursday night football. I can tell you this. I don't care if it was the 60s or the 70s when I was with the Colts or here with the Patriots. When you play on Sunday, players will tell you only by Friday do you begin to feel better again. So imagine playing Sunday and then coming out, most of them are injured. That game, and I'm back to why I don't like what's happening in certain parts of football. The Patriots play, luckily at home, they play the Colts last Thursday. And the Colts are basically a team that couldn't compete in the Boston City League football for the simple reason, many of their players were hurt. They're coming off a rough Sunday game. They lose 3 players in a game, and actually they were still in the game in the fourth quarter of the Patriots. So I'm saying
they played with 42 football players. They didn't even have a full complement, a roster, like a pickup game. Like you go play basketball, you only got 7 guys or something. It's crazy.
Well, it is, and that's my point. That to protect the game, what John Eisenberg writes in his great book is basically about a time when everybody looked out for everybody else. My concern today is you've got a bunch of billionaires that own different teams. And by the way, you should have Mark Leibovich on, too.
I'm chasing him down. I've watched all of that.
You know what?
Yeah.
You tell me, and I'll get a hold of him for you.
I appreciate that. Well, you throw him a note. Tell him I'm really looking forward to having him on.
Well, but I will. I'll talk to you after the show. But what I'm telling you is, what Eisenberg points out is those owners cared about the game. And I'm not saying your owner in Baltimore is pretty good. I'm not saying that today's owner, they care about the bottom line. If they cared about the game, those players, the average player,
if they cared about the game, they would not be playing Thursday Night Football. I mean, there's just no.
Right.
And for me, if the concession were 18-game season instead of that, and I know they were moving in that direction, and now it's like you can't talk about an 18-game season. The 18-game season thing made a whole lot more sense to me, and getting rid of these goofy preseason games that nobody likes, nobody cares about. Start the season earlier, make your money that way, because these guys are going out there and playing anyway. Pay them fair, add the money, figure it out, then doing Thursday night. I mean, the Thursday night thing to me is disgraceful.
Look at it this way. When I started in football in the 40s, 3.5 years was the average life of a football player. In every other sport, the average life of a player has increased. 3.5 years is still the same today, 50 years later. So ask yourself, with all the rule changes, with all of the safety things put in, it's still 3.5 years. So you look at a player's life, not the the top players that you're always talking about, the Drew Brees and people like that. But look at the middle player, which is now being really pushed out because in a salary cap you got to pay the top people, and there you have more and more middle and lower players making less. The veterans stay around less time than they did in the past. And in the end, you're playing all these games, but your lifespan in football is still only 3.5 years. You tell me.
Upton Bell is our guest. You can find him out on Twitter. You can also find his book. First off, how's the book doing, man? I haven't caught up with you since then. Present at the creation, and I mean, the book still holds up, right? The book's not a period piece.
Absolutely. In fact, they're going to keep it another year in the hardback. It's doing so well. People can also get it on audio now. So if you go to audiobooks, you can get it on audiobooks. They actually hired a professional actor to do the book.
Oh, nice. So it's not in your voice. It's not like Springsteen's book.
No, it's not. No, I didn't. No,
You're not the narrator.
Yeah, no, it's not in my voice. It's in a professional actor's voice, but people that have heard it really like it. But the book is really doing well, and I'm thinking about possibly maybe a second book that will look at a different aspect of the life on the road. So you never know.
Well, I know it's baseball season up where you are in New England, and I remember that you remember the Orioles' heritage here in the history. One day we'll get back up and walk again, but hey, it was a fun experience being out in Cleveland. I hate to say this as a Baltimore guy, but seeing those fans get lubed up, there's no better football town than Cleveland if they were ever to win. I mean, I don't even know what that would look like out there, Upton.
Well, it did, and it's ironic that Art Modell that came to Baltimore sold them out there. I saw Cleveland. I saw the first game that the Cleveland Browns played in the National Football League against the Philadelphia Eagles in 1950. Paul Brown still remains, as you see in my book, still remains the greatest coach, the greatest innovator of all time. The Cleveland Browns were some of the greatest players in history, including the first messenger guard, Chuck Noll, Otto Graham. And also, do you know that the Cleveland Browns are the only team in NFL history that went to 10 straight championship games? 10 straight.
That's old school, and I was out there driving around. I passed Lou Groza Field, so I knew I was in the Cleveland. You knew you were in Berea when you found that out. Upton, it's always great to visit with you. I hope to do it again at some point here during the season, and I hope you sit back, and I hope the officiating gets better, and I hope the games get a little shorter, although I'm not holding my breath on any of that at this point. It is quite a confusing thing for everyone, and I think when the players and the coaches, our quarterback, who I've never heard chirp about a bad call ever in 11 years, chirped about one on Sunday. So I think it is being loud. I mean, everyone has been loud about the officiating.
Well, they have to do something. See, the other thing is, if you take control away from the officials on the field, do they make mistakes? Yes. But when you now have everything controlled out of a center in New York on Sunday that makes every call and every replay, when you take that ability, just as in baseball, as you know, Nestor, that they're talking about now taking the umpire out of balls and strikes and having the camera and the computer do it, and I'm saying, what the hell are we doing here? That's the great thing about the game. How many calls did we used to discuss? He missed the field goal. No, he didn't miss the field goal. He made the first down. He didn't make the first down. It was a catch.
By the way, my dad's been dead 25 years and still pissed at Tunney over the Green Bay thing, just so you know.
Yeah, well, that changed football history, and I was at that game, of course, with the Colts. They raised the goalpost afterwards. But it was too late for us. We lost the game and a chance to go to the championship. But you know what? As bad as that was, we're still talking about it today.
50 years ago.
Do we talk about anything anymore? Because the replay in New York tells you the whole story. Welcome to Big Brother.
You know what? If tennis would have had the system, Serena'd still be playing.
That's right.
Hey, and Earl Weaver'd have nobody to yell at. I mean, who do you get pissed at when you're the manager if the computer says it was on the corner?
I know. You know what? Earl would say to the computer, have a cigarette.
Upton, always a pleasure to have you on. So many fond memories of Baltimore, and I'll get you on again soon, and we'll try to make the world a better place, all right?
That's great. Thank you, Nestor. It's always a pleasure.
You got it. Upton Bell. The book is Present at Creation, and you can find him out at Upton Bell. And, of course, widely quoted in John Eisenberg's book, he is a true treasure to have on. So great gratitude to the great Upton Bell for joining us here. Google him if you don't know who he is, kids. Baltimore Colts, Upton Bell, Burt Bell. Please do. Boston Patriots, New England Patriots, all that good stuff. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking Baltimore sports.